The horse itself was commissioned by an artist. Filthy, I'm presenting this.
How dare you snicker?
This is serious shit, man.
I'll zip it up.
Do you think I would joke about a magic horse out front of the Denver airport? If you do, you don't even know me. But shut up. So.
And we're live.
I prefer the Denver airport because I've watched like some 20-minute YouTube videos about that. It is fascinating, and every time I've ever been in the Denver airport, I tried to be observant and see some of the things I had learned in the videos. And I'm sure you're going to cover this, but it's way overbuilt.
Yeah.
I find that one very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Did you have a vote on that one?
I've never heard either of these, so I've never heard either of these as conspiracy theories. So no, either would be great.
Okay, so I'll do the Denver airport one then. So I know Kyle has because you picked me up there once. Have you flown through the Denver airport, Filthy?
I don't remember. Probably. It's Denver, Colorado. Yeah. Okay.
So the Denver airport was made in 1995, and Denver already had a functional airport. It worked just fine, but they spent billions and I'm doing the Denver airport conspiracy now, Woody.
Thank you.
So the airport itself is insanely big. It is 33,531 acres, 52.4 square miles, and its longest runway is 16,000 feet. It puts other airports to fucking shame with how big it is and how much space it takes up. Before it was constructed, there were a lot of fully finished buildings, 5 of them, that they had on that area. And they buried them all underground, and they just left them there. They left them all under there. They said that they weren't built correctly, and so they put them underneath the structure, is what their explanation was. And these were 5 fully formed, like a network that was underneath where the airport is. Keep in mind, this is an enormous airport. It's literally the biggest space under an airport in the country by a lot. This is one thing that, I'm just setting the stage for what made people kind of conspicuous of this whole thing. Something that this was featured on 2010's version of Jesse Ventura's hit show Conspiracy, and he confirms everything I'm about to say. And the Freemason thing. Do you guys know what Freemasons are?
Yes.
I could use an explanation.
It's basically like an elite group that a lot of people contend, kind of like the Illuminati, where they have. Yeah, it's kind of lumped into that same mythology or assertion.
Many of our founding fathers were Freemasons.
People, founding fathers, they have a disproportionate amount of power. They can exert their influence, not necessarily directly. They're like a deep state, quote unquote, where they can manipulate powers that be in order to get their way, but they are staying in the shadows, is what people would assume. And so the Freemasonry has a huge part at that airport. The capstone of the airport has the compass and sextant, or whatever the fuck that thing is, compass and something else. Sorry. Did I write it down? I did not. Well, it's got the Freemason insignia on the capstone there. And it was sealed. The capstone was sealed on March 19th, 1994, before it was opened. And on it, it says, "To the people of Colorado in 2094. Oh, a square and compass Freemason symbol. That's what it was. And underneath that are 2 Grand Masters listed of the Freemasons. It also says a list, and it has New World Airport Commission. And people don't know what that is, but it has the Freemason symbol. It's the capstone of the building. It's got 2 of the Grand Masters listed, and it's got New World Airport Commission. If you don't know, New World Order is the thing that they always say those people are building. They're building a New World Order where they're going to sit behind the shadows and conduct us like puppets. That kind of turned people off. The next thing were the statues. So if you've ever been inside the Denver airport, you'll know that the aesthetics of it are fucking weird.
Yep.
This is something that I noticed before I knew this was a conspiracy, where I'm like, I've never been in an airport getting my bags where there are gargoyles staring down at me all over the place. It's a fucking strange aesthetic there. And so there are gargoyles all over the place in the airport, which is a Masonic symbol, I guess. They have a 30-foot horse out front that's blue, has glowing red eyes, and they call it Blucifer. because they think it's a demon horse. They use that,
I saw it.
the Freemasons do the whole 4 horsemen of the apocalypse thing. And so they're like a poem or some shit under there. They think that was a hint at that. People say it's cursed, and there have been reports of people having panic attacks and like passing out nearby the horse. And the horse itself was commissioned by an artist. Filthy, I'm presenting this.
How dare you snicker?
This is serious shit, man.
I'll zip it up.
Do you think I would joke about a magic horse out front of the Denver airport? If you do, you don't even know me. but shut up. So this 32-foot horse, as it was being commissioned and sculpted, it actually killed its creator. The head slipped off, gashed open his femoral artery, and he bled out all over the head of this horse that is now sitting out front of the Denver International Airport.
Was he sacrificed?
You're reading my mind. There's also the problem of the murals so a lot of airports will have that aesthetic, hey, come look at Atlanta. We've got cool, neat stuff and like pictures of that. This is just a big mural, multiple murals telling like a story, and the story is not very normal for what you would consider in an airport where you normally see like birds or like, a nature scene. It's showing like predictions where, you got, they say it's about the Germans taking over again. Because the first one is a guy who looks very Nazi-esque in a gas mask, and there are people, struggling and everything. And he's clearly being, assertive. He's going to take shit down. There's another one where there is a Boy Scout who is clearly representing the U.S., handing his weapon to a Bavarian child, clearly symbolizing Germany. Not a peace agreement, but handing the weapon to the German. People do not like that. There's another one of a devil jumping out of a suitcase. There's one. It's either a statue or it's a mural. There's a mural of Anubis, the Egyptian god of death. There's one of children gathered around a knife. There's kids in front of a burning building. Those were all. And then America submitting to Germany by giving weapons to the Bavarian kid. And another thing they mention, flipping my page there, is that the runways look like a swastika if you zoom out and look at it. You got a nice looking swastika shape there. And at first I thought, well, of course there wouldn't be curbs in a runway. You're setting planes off. And I thought, no. That makes too much sense. And so they're all straight. They look like swastikas. The other thing I mentioned early on, if you recall, are the underground bunkers that people assert are under this thing. And it's not even an assertion. It's known that there are bunkers under there. When there was like some missile threat from North Korea during Obama's administration, he was mysteriously flown to Denver. Oddly enough, that it's odd that he would go to Denver. People speculate or postulate that this might be a place to house undesirables in some sort of apocalyptic scenario where no one would know. Or they say that part of it might be to keep the elites safe in the event that something were to happen that was calamitous.
Full spectrum, really, for these.
Full spectrum. They're multi-purpose rooms down there.
Yep.
The 5 buildings were completed and buried intact. Totally functional down there. There's also the 2007 incident that people believe that there is something electromagnetic happening underneath that building in one of those finished buildings, because 14 windshields on planes spontaneously broke on the same date at the same time in 2007, and it set the whole airport back, and there was no explanation for it given. There's also the 2012 Aztec apocalyptic insignia above a couple of the murals. On one of the little statues they have there, they have AU, AG on it, which are chemical symbols, and they believe that could be kind of a hint. It's gold and silver, but they say that it could be a hint towards Australia antigen toxin, which is a weapon of choice for the Illuminati. So it could be a hint. Yes, you act like I went to one site and read all this. and then the Queen of England is also buying up properties surrounding this very airport. So I put you this, gentlemen. Is it more likely that an architect or a team of architects made a building too big and an artist with a bad sense of style was conscripted to decorate it? Or is it more likely that covert Germans working out of Argentina built the Denver airport to make sure that there would be a place to hide when it all goes tits up?
Option number 2, I guess.
I'm stunned. Compared to these other presentations, I mean, I thought a lot of these other presentations, but they're very well done. But this one I think takes the cake for me. There's almost no way to refute this. Like nothing is even able to be challenged. It's so clearly laid out step by step.
Taylor, you don't know this, but while you were talking, I put on the big screen all the different murals that you were describing. Yeah, they're seriously fucked.
They're not good murals for an airport. That much is fair.
I'm like,
but like,
there are gargoyles looking at you.
Major airport, right? Like I've been to JFK and LaGuardia. I've been to LAX. I've been to Vegas and Denver and Atlanta.
No Nazis.
They often have motifs, right? You know, if you're in like the Southwest, they often have a lot of Native American stuff and fucking Adobe looking shit. And you know, you go up north and there's all kinds of like aviation stuff. That's bizarre. No other airport has that. Like here in Atlanta, we've got, weird. You know, sometimes it's a bit like, it's like a local museum, a little bit of local history and flavor. Sometimes it's aeronautic history specifically, you know, that makes sense.
And that's well, I mean, the Illuminati or the Freemasons, whoever it is who are behind this, I mean, clearly had the same thought. They wanted a little bit of their local culture portrayed in the airport. I mean, that was what they weren't willing to compromise on. Sure, I mean, the shadow government, the hidden secret, like puppet strings they're pulling, but not here, not giving up the tradition of the airport reflecting the local culture. That was not something they were willing to hide, not something that's an American value so deep that they weren't willing to compromise.
Deep. There'd be a bunch of John Denver shit in there or something, right? Like what the fuck is that? This one that I linked
I don't think John Denver's from Denver.
No, but he sings the song. That's all I care about.
Oh.
This the one that I linked here, which ignore the InfoWars banner in the bottom left. That's clearly like an evil stormtrooper with a machine gun and a sword stabbing a white dove.
The symbol of peace.
And
killing
in the
a symbol of peace.
In the background, there are perpetual women holding dead babies and rubble.
Yeah.
It's like the god of death or the god of war is what it looks like, perpetuated.
That guy looks like a Nazi to me. Like
a bit. Yeah. A soldier for sure. Like he's war, if anything.
Yeah. That's
Kyle, do you know that gun? Is that a gun that you can identify?
It's made to look like an AK-47.
Okay.
Yeah, it was I've never given it any thought. And I looked into it, and it was very weird. But it's just, I mean, first of all, this is stone cold retarded. If you actually, you got to be stone cold retarded to believe in a conspiracy like this. But also, and guess what? Like when I was reading about it, all it took was like 5 seconds to undo everything that I just claimed. I just didn't want to start with any of that. It was like, well, they were trying a new baggage system to expedite people's travel, and it didn't end up working. So now it's abandoned, and they have a traditional baggage system. It's like, oh no, I don't think so, lady. I think that there are electromagnetic pulses, you know. And then those 14 aircraft, they were inspected by engineers or whoever, you know. Aeronautical engineers, whoever would do it, I don't know. And they were like, yeah, this is clearly caused by, you know, rubble or something smashing into it. You know, there were very high winds on that day.
Show me the pig man.
What's undeniable, though, is someone has a bad sense of art.
Yeah, all this, like the gargoyles, the murals, that big scary blue horse with the fiery eyes. These are awesome. Arguably the worst aesthetic choices for an airport. Like, are you trying to put people on edge?
But anything like that brings tourism, right? Like, doesn't this type of shit, like, is this something that people are going to come and view? Like, this is hype for this.
It's Why are we discussing Who goes to an airport hype? For tourism?
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed, but here we are.
I'm
talking
going to
about
Denver.
This.
Where are you staying? Nah.
Not this guy. Not this guy.
Nah. I'm gonna take a quick peek, couple of pics with me and the Nazi, and then I'm back home.
Staying.
Next week, I'm visiting LaGuardia.
I've flown through this airport, but only as a kid. I don't remember any of this. But now I
I'm
want to
gonna
go
buy
back.
a $9 beer in every airport across the country.
I looked at the swastika and showed it to everyone too. I went to Google Maps and showed them that, and it does kind of look like a swastika. I see it, but as someone like who, whatever, the little flying I do, you want to take off and land into the wind, and that's why they have like crosses, kind of, so that regardless of the wind direction, you can probably go pretty much into it.
Yeah, the swastika thing was the silliest part, arguably, because it was like, what would you think a runway would look like? Like a bunch of straight lines going outward like the sun, like a curve here or there? Like, no, it's gonna be
asterisk.
If there is a shape that shows up at an airport, arguably the swastika is the most logical one. Right? Nobody's making like a yin yang peace sign airport. Yeah.
It's just hilarious to me that like part of this is so presumably they're so either secure in this or so necessary that the conspirators are flagging this.
They put
the whole
it right
point
on
of
our money, man. That's how they work.
Right? Like the idea of like keeping something secret, but you're being as blatant as you can is such a bizarre juxtaposition of like how you think about that. Like, you're trying to hide something? Well, I'm going to put symbols that reveal this all over the fucking place. It seems really, it's funny that you fix on. Yeah.
It seems like you'd be like teasing it, like you would have to be the most ballsy motherfucker to be like, yeah, we're building it. We're building it in Denver, where they already have an airport that's fine. And guess what? It's going to be the biggest one out there. And guess what? We're putting fucked up murals and gargoyles in it. Why? Because they'll never suspect a creepy airport of actually being creepy.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that was an interesting one. Like clearly it's retarded, but it's interesting the stuff people read into this and the fervor that some people will express on something as minute as whether or not the Denver airport has buildings underneath it. Like, who could possibly? Well, I ask, who could possibly care? We're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That horse does not make me want to fly.
That horse is amazing.
It's cool outside of like a rock climbing or a paintball course, but it shouldn't be at the airport.
It should
like,
be
Daddy,
inside
this is my first flight. What's that?
It belongs in a laser tag arena.
Yeah, it really. That's the kind of thing. Or on like Double Dare 2000, something like that is where that belongs.
Do they like dress up like any of the flights that fly out of there? Like sometimes like the stewardesses or whatever, and they're like running around in like the fucking horse costume. Like that's like they do it all like, kids, you need to buckle your seatbelts or the horse from hell takes you down. Like I want to see like, I would love to see like, they should have art from that, and probably local artists will probably be inspired by this, of like the horse pulling down planes or something. Like just like, this is such a great, I just love that image. Like that image is incredible.
It is a very cool, aesthetically pleasing statue in the context of the statue itself, not of like outside an airport.
Yeah, it's both totally bizarre. Like this is clearly what some of the hype of this is about, is how bizarre this is to have at this type of thing. Like airports are dull and uneventful and safe and comforting. Why is there a fucking glowing red devil horse in front of this one?
Why is there a picture of kids holding weapons, standing by a burning building, holding a knife or whatever? Like that, I don't know. That doesn't seem to go very well with Wetzel's Pretzels.
Right.
I was curious, 'cause you said it was the biggest airport. It is by land. That's the measure.
Yeah, that's the conspiracy part, is that they bought way more land than was needed for it.
Yeah, it's the 6th busiest by people.
Yeah, like Atlanta's the busiest, I think. I think Atlanta's number 1, but it's not nearly as big as Denver as far as area.
Yeah, you're right about Atlanta being the busiest in terms of people. My site doesn't have land on it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to need a source on that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Tell us if you guys want this conspiracy shit to be a recurring bit, because I think it's entertaining and engaging and interesting to hear the things people believe, especially the sillier ones like this.
Kind of like the opposite of like a Mythbusters or something. It's really like, really embrace the conspiracy.
Yeah, right.
Embrace the conspiracy. When you're talking about it, you have to believe it. I fucked up there in the middle when you jumped in, but I tried.